sparked deeper concerns about how the agency is being run and whether its internal oversight systems are working as they should. Chief Executive Officer of the Heroes Foundation, Lawrence Arjun, says the authority remains one of the country's most critical child protection institutions. But he argued it is operating under serious structural strain with too many responsibilities, limited resources, and what appears to be a breakdown in reporting between the board and the ministry.
The Children's Authority is definitely one of the most critical and important state entities that we have today. But as the report says, as many people have said over the years, it faces significant challenges, such as, it's carrying too much functions, it has resource, it has staffing constraints. So that being said, I really was surprised that the minister raised such a matter in the public, because it says that there is, or there has been, some sort of breakdown in the reporting and the engagement mechanisms within the authority, the board, and the ministry.
In other news, the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago Limited has secured a new gas sales contract with ammonia producer Trinidad Nitrogen Company Limited, strengthening a long-standing partnership in the country's energy sector. Tringen, one of the longest operating ammonia producers on the Point Lisas industrial estate, is jointly owned by National Enterprises Limited and Yarra Caribbean 2002 Limited. The company operates 2 ammonia plants and its own power generation facility. Speaking at the signing, Acting President of NGC, Edmund Subrian, said the agreement reflects strong collaboration across the energy sector and supports the natural gas value chain. NGC Chairman Gerald Ramdeen added that the deal ensures continued gas supply for ammonia production, sustains economic activity at Point Lisas, and helps maximize returns from the country's natural resources. Tringen Chairman Emerson Chady and Vice President Operations Trevenio Mowasi were also present. Government is making it easier for motorists to renew their driver's licenses early. The Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation says Cabinet has approved an amendment to the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Regulations, allowing license holders to renew up to 3 months before their license expires. Previously, renewals were only permitted 1 month prior to expiry. The ministry says the extended period will reduce last-minute rushes, improve customer convenience, and enhance service efficiency. The change comes through Legal Notice Number 48 of 2026 and takes effect from March 16, 2026. The ministry is thanking the public for its continued cooperation as efforts continue to improve service delivery across the transport sector. In some sport now, the Youth Hardball Community Cricket Program was in full swing at the Calderac Recreation Ground, where a host of young players gathered for an evening of skill building on Monday. Present at the session was Sport Ambassador and former West Indies cricketer Nicholas Pooran, who spent time with participants offering encouragement and motivation as they continue their journey. The program, run by the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, provides youngsters with hands-on coaching from experienced mentors, fun cricket activities, and valuable lessons while sharpening the skills among the next generation. And that's what's making the news this morning. But joining us right now is Virmala Balkaran, the host of Trinidad and Tobago Today. Good morning, Virmala.
Good morning, Carrie. How are you today?
I am good. What about you?
I'm doing good.
You sure?
Yeah, I just need a little bit more rest.
We all need a little bit more rest, right, at this time of the morning.
Yeah, it's a short week, so hopefully we'll get that this weekend.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. You know, today is St. Patrick's Day.
Really?
Yeah, it is, March 17th.
I lost track of the days. I really did lose track of time.
That's when you're working so hard, all your days blend into one, right?
Yeah, why aren't you in green?
That's a question I'm also asking myself, because I didn't remember until just a few minutes ago, to be honest.
Yeah, well, Carrie, coming up inside our show today, we actually have a nice update on Papa Ute for you.
Okay.
I know you've been really interested, so that's something to look forward to.
I'm really looking forward to that, so I'll be locked in, of course.
All right, Carrie, talk soon.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you, Virmala.
All right.
When we come back, the Trinidad and Tobago Today morning show gets going after this short break.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. We report the news, real stories in real time. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is still hope. When the weight feels heavy and the night feels long, remember, your story isn't over. God's promises are still true, His love is still strong, and your breakthrough is still coming. Join us for Messages of Hope, Words of Encouragement with Pastor Jesse, presented by Youth Fires. Hope lives here, only on TTT.
For me, it started off with you. This whole journey started off with me falling in love with you and getting married to you. And the kids are outside of that space. I love my kids. They are our pride and joy, but they are outside of that space. They cannot and will not interfere with our dynamic. And that's just my mindset. And it's not wrong when, you know, especially during the early years of your kids and your development as parents, you're going to spend focus, and you're going to probably focus a lot of your time, a lot of your attention, a lot of your finances, your resources on your children. That wouldn't change. But I'm always intentional about making you my number one focus. And that's just my point of view. And the reason why I say that is because when we were dating, all we had was each other. So,
and eventually the kids are going to go off.
And the kids are going to go off.
School, to college, they're going to become adults.
Even before college, they're going to become teenagers, and they're going to want to do their own thing. And then you're going to find your identity being kind of shifted, because for the previous 13 years, all you did was make sure that they had what they need. And you kind of forgot about yourself, forgot about the relationship. And now they're being independent, they have their own friends, they don't want to be smothered.
The Marriage Confessional, only on TTT.
Hey, up for this exciting challenge and confident about your business? If you are, the 10-20 feature is just for you. It's where you give your customers 10 reasons in 20 seconds why they should shop by you. This fun-filled feature will be captured, packaged, and aired on television and promoted on social media simultaneously. Small, medium, and large businesses call or WhatsApp 764-3378 or 313-4215. Let's feature your business. 1020 with Junior K. It's affordable, effective, and fun.
Tuesday, 17th March 2026. The time now, it is 6:08 a.m. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and the world. I'm Virmala Balkaran, and welcome to Trinidad and Tobago Today. Well, let's take a look at what's trending this morning. Drivers, did you know that you can now renew your licenses earlier? Well, the government has extended the early renewal period from 1 month to 3 months before expiry. So this is something that I'm pretty sure we're happy about. The change took effect on March 16th, which was just yesterday. And this aims to reduce last-minute renewals and improve service efficiency. What are your thoughts on that? Hit us up on social media, or of course, you can email us at tttoday@ttt.co.tt. Also, in other news, the central block of the Port of Spain General Hospital is now expected to reopen on June 30th. Now, this is coming from our health minister, Dr. Lakram Boda, who's saying that construction challenges at the Udicot managed facility caused this delay. Well, as you know, this project was originally approved in 2017. Well, moving on now, police actually detained 54 people during an anti-prostitution operation in Cunupia on Sunday. I'm sure you've seen those videos on social media. 47 foreign nationals and 7 local women were taken into custody at a property along Marshall Trace. And officers from the counter-trafficking unit processed the detainees using a mobile detention unit under the current state of emergency regulation, something we'll also be unpacking a little later on. And taking a look regionally now, Cuba was hit by an island-wide blackout on Monday, leaving the country's 11 million residents without electricity. As well, their energy crisis worsens. And officials are saying that the national power grid experienced an absolute complete disconnection. And this outage comes amid severe fuel shortages, something you've probably been following, with the president saying Cuba has not received oil shipments for more than 3 months. forcing the country to rely on limited alternative energy sources. Well, as usual, another packed show for you. Coming up inside our show today, an update on the absolutely adored Papa Ute from Dr. Kriyan Singh, another critical discussion about youth development, and so much more. You know what to do. Grab your cup of coffee and settle in. Trinidad and Tobago Today has begun. Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون.
This powerful verse from the Holy Quran invites us to embrace reflection, self-discipline, and spiritual renewal. Join us daily on TTT Limited for special Ramadan features, inspiring messages, heartfelt moments of devotion, and reflections that uplift our nation.
When it matters, we're there, reporting the news as it happens, because your world can't wait. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
This Ramadan, join me, Sherilyn Lewis, for Ramadan Reflections, a weekly television series exploring meaningful conversations on fasting and the significance of the holy month. Airing every Tuesday at 8:05 p.m. on TTT, beginning Tuesday 24th February, we delve into real, relatable topics that inspire spiritual growth, discipline, and understanding during Ramadan. Let's reflect, learn, and grow together this blessed month.
Unleash your imagination with TTT's Terrific Toon Time. Join us as we stop evil geniuses from taking over the world on Super Z, or hop on board for a journey into outer space with Galaxy Kids. Be a part of our quest to save the forest alongside our robot pals from Bugspot Ignition. Or let's go exploring with Duda and Dada. It's fun-filled adventure with Terrific Toon Time right here on TTT.
Greetings, hello to you there, and welcome to the CZIT National Secondary Schools Climate Quiz. I'm your host Sachin Ram Subag, and I am pleased to be part of this great initiative.
With the state of emergency extended and a series of violent incidents involving young men dominating the headlines, the issue of youth crime is once again under the spotlight. So from killings in Laventille to attacks in communities like Edinburgh 500. There is growing urgency around understanding what is driving these trends and how early intervention can help to prevent them. Well, that conversation is also at the heart of a symposium examining a multi-sectoral approach to the early identification, prevention, and treatment of emotional and behavioral issues among vulnerable youth. We'll talk more about that symposium a little bit later. But joining us this morning is Dr. Randy Sipasad, no stranger to Trinidad and Tobago Today. He's a criminologist and coordinator of the criminology unit at the University of the West Indies. Now, Dr. Sipasad holds a PhD from the University of Toronto and an MPhil from the University of Cambridge. And his research focuses on areas including economic deprivation and crime, gang violence, youth crime and justice, and the factors that influence whether young people become involved in delinquent and criminal behavior for a reason. Well, he's joining us now via Zoom. Good morning, Dr. Sipasad. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for having me on the show. And good morning to you and the viewers.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Again, your contribution is always welcome and appreciated. Well, Dr. Sipasad, with everything happening in Trinidad and Tobago and following our previous discussion about the state of emergency, how can the research and evidence complement ongoing security efforts to affect youth crime more effectively for us?
That's a very good question. And the thing about it is the research focuses both on the preventative and the suppressive side of things. The TTPS is doing a pretty good job when it comes to the suppressive side. Of course, there are areas for improvement when it comes to crime, crime detections, crime scene investigations, judicial processes, etc. And research can help streamline all of these. But I want to focus much more in terms of the preventative side, where there is also a wealth of research. And you mentioned the symposium a little while ago, and you mentioned the focus on youths. And one of the things that we have known, for a very long time and is backed up by a lot of research, and I think, generally speaking, members of the public don't know, is that very early childhood development. And when I say very early childhood development, I'm speaking from conception up to the first 3 years of life is extremely critical when it comes to, children either being able to perform well academically, staying out of trouble, or compared to when they engage, they get into serious problems very early in life and later engage in criminality. The reason for that, and I'm pointing you to criminological research, which suggests this and shows it quite conclusively, in fact, is that the very early environment affects brain development pretty much in a really indelible way, because there is a lot of brain development going on from the point of conception up to the first 3 years of life. And criminological research has shown us that the early environment affects this brain development in a way that really is almost impossible to undo once you pass the first 3 years of life. So if you compare two environments, let's say, an environment that is loving, nurturing, supportive, one in which a child experiences sensory stimulation in all of the sensory modalities, that's an environment that's optimal for brain development. But one that is filled with violence, with drug use, with prenatal use of alcohol, tobacco, abuse, neglect, and all of these things actually affect the development of a child's brain in a very negative way, and in a way that research shows that predisposes them to violence. And if I might share some research statistics, you're asking me about research. There was a recent study that was done in 2024, which was a collaboration between the University of the West Indies, Arizona State University, and the University of Chicago. And we compared the average youth in Trinidad and Tobago to youths in St. Jude's and YTRC. And for instance, we found for the average youth, and these figures are still very high, mind you, 25% had substance use in the home when they were a child, versus 43% in St. Jude's and YTRC who had parents who abused substances. In the country as a whole, 21% had a parent with mental illness compared to 26% of youths in St. Jude's and YTRC. In the country as a whole, 26% had, this is very high, a household member who was incarcerated versus 63% of the youths who were in St. Jude's and YTRC. In the country as a whole, 46% had, parental separation, divorce, or death within the home, compared to 86% in YTRC. And two more statistics that I'll share. 55% in the country as a whole experienced emotional abuse when they were children, compared to 70% in St. Jude's and YTRC, and 42% of children in the country as a whole experienced physical abuse while they were a child, compared to 60% in YTRC and St. Jude's. These figures for me are alarming because they tell of a multiplicity of what we call ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, which in the very early years of life, as I've pointed out, really predisposes children to engage in criminality later on. So this is just one example. There are many ways that criminological research can point us to factors that we need to address, especially early in life. And the symposium was very heavily about that kind of issue.
Yeah. Dr. Sipasad, now, talking about all of the research and the statistics that are coming out of this, let's talk about the approach now. So there's been a lot of talk about multi-sectoral approach, right? That's the phrase. Mm-hmm. So this symposium also was a multi-sectoral approach. What role can stronger collaboration and this multi-sectoral approach between government, even academia, community stakeholders really play in all of this?
Right. So that's an excellent question. And the thing about it is no single entity, including the Ministry of Homeland Security, could fight this fight when it comes to crime. Different agencies have different levels of reach. They also have additional resources that could be brought to play. So, for instance, if you take the Ministry of Education, that ministry has reached to all of the children, at least those enrolled in schools in the country. If you talk about family serving agencies or community serving agencies, etc., you're saying that they have different kinds of reach. So, for instance, the family is another critical environment within which we typically don't intervene. We typically don't intervene within the school. So you're saying, and that particular symposium that happened last week at the University of the West Indies really was led by the Ministry of Homeland Security, which is taking the charge head on to try to galvanize the support, and much more than that, create a coordinated system that different agencies can work. So you're talking about agencies sharing information, agencies collaborating in terms of their efforts. So you'd find instances where there are synergies and overlap. You'd find as well, if you look at it from that broader perspective, you start to figure out what are the gaps, because there are things that collectively agencies are not addressing that need to be addressed. So when you're talking about bringing people together, you're talking about bringing resources together, you are talking about expanded reach, you're talking about creating a coordinated framework for collaboration, etc. So you're talking basically an all of government, all of society approach in the fight against crime.
Dr. Sipasad, I want to talk a little bit about some of your work, which highlights economic deprivation and crime as well. Let's talk now. I know we spoke about the family environment, but how significant are the social and economic factors in, let's say, influencing youth into maybe joining gangs and violence?
So again, excellent point. Now, the thing about it is we have to think about youth violence as something that occurs in, so to speak, nested systems or nested environments. You're quite right to raise the point of economic deprivation. And there is an empirical link when it comes to economic deprivation and crime involvement, gang involvement, etc. But at the same time, when you see the problem, the crime problem, as one that occurs in successive or nested environments, as Yuri Bronfenbrenner would tell us, you come to realize that there are many, many factors in different environments, such as the peer group, the community, the family, the school, the larger society, institutions, etc., that impact human behavior, with crime, gang violence, etc., being one aspect of human behavior. So taking this kind of approach, what it allows you to do is look at the problem from multiple lenses and try to figure out within each of the successive environments that people find themselves, what are the core factors? So, within the community or within the society, how important is employment? How important is peer influence? How important is access to drugs, access to firearms, violence in the community, etc. So one of the good things about research is that we're very well aware of this kind of approach when it comes to understanding the problem. And in looking at the problem, we therefore wouldn't look at economic deprivation alone, but we would look at a multiplicity of factors and try to determine out of all of these factors in all of these environments, which are the most important. And this is where you would put effort in terms of intervention. So it does turn out, in fact, that economic deprivation, whether it's poverty, joblessness, all of these kinds of things, high cost of food, cost of living, all of these things, it affects people in a very tangible way. And it can push people not just to property crime, but as well to violent crimes. So it's certainly important. If you want to go into a community and you want to get youth out of crime, you do have to create alternatives for them, to create that space in which they could experience upward social mobility. And providing jobs, therefore, represents a very, very important dimension of the problem.
Dr. Sibside, you also mentioned a little bit earlier something that I want to circle back to. And it's you saying that we can't really go into the families and do more, What about within the families? What about when members of the family probably seeing the younger ones going down a wrong road, seeing all of this happening? What would your advice to them be? How do you get out of this? How do you address this in the family system itself?
Right. Let me preface that by saying, touching on that issue that you mentioned, you can't go into families. What I think is that you should provide opportunities for families, and you should educate families so that they can see these warning signs. Because if families are aware of the problems that can predispose their young children to engaging in violence when they get older, education is part of the solution, because it means that they can then guard against, those kinds of factors that predispose that kind of behavior later in life. But at the same time, while the families are very private space, and as you mentioned, you can't go into families, there are precedents in other countries, even right here in the Caribbean, where you do try to intervene in families, not in a way that you're sort of flexing the power of the state, not at all, but in a way that provides support. So, for instance, in marginalized and impoverished communities in some of our Caribbean neighbors, assistance is provided through nurses and other health practitioners, psychologists, etc., who at least advertise very widely that the support is available so that people can avail themselves of the support. And sometimes you'd be surprised. It's very, very simple things like educating mothers about not smoking and not consuming alcohol while they're pregnant, because this has a very serious effect on the brain development of the child, and it's going to have a lasting effect, unfortunately, on the child. And sometimes it's the simplest things that I think we take for granted that can affect the entire life force of a child as the child grows and develops. So, yes, the family is a private sphere, but the family happens also to be one of the most important and critical environments. So I dare say we do need to do more to educate families. We do need to do more to provide services to families and ensure that, mothers especially and parents are aware of the services, provide them in such a way that they are accessible, friendly, courteous, and in such a way that encourages those who require the help to come and seek the help. And then, of course, you would find that, at a national scale, there would be better outcomes when it comes to child development, which would, down the road, translate into lower crime levels.
Yeah. Dr. Seaside, you spoke a little bit about things that worked just now, something that worked and we can draw from that. What approaches have shown promise internationally from your research that can actually make the greatest difference in preventing youth involvement in gang violence and crime and all of that?
Right. So gang violence especially is one of those extremely intractable problems. It's a problem that you see in many, many countries in the world. And many states have been struggling to deal with that particular problem. Part of the reason for it is that once gangs emerge and they take root, it really creates a culture of violence. And it creates a culture of violence where you have groups vying for power, groups competing for resources. And when I say groups, I mean gangs. And not only that, gangs clashing with each other in a violent way, such that it eventually reaches a point where members in a community almost have no choice but to take a side. And the youths in the community as well have no choice but to take a side. And they see the gang as an entity that really protects them, protects their families, and protects their loved ones. So the gang really becomes an instrument, so to speak, of community support, community mobility, and community protection. And therefore, the gang becomes a very entrenched and indispensable part of the community. And this creates a very, very big problem because then it becomes almost impossible to eradicate. So not only that, there is also the psychological dimension of it, because you're talking a level of trauma that I think, members of the public out there, don't really understand. When people are shooting at you and killing you and your loved ones on a daily basis, it creates, it pushes people to the point where they're experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, where they have, extreme emotional states, and deep psychological distress in terms of hatred and anger and all of these things. And these deep-seated psychological issues will continue to push the levels of violence as people, quote unquote, protect themselves, so to speak, in the communities. And unless you start to deal with these kinds of deep-rooted issues, the deep-rooted drivers, which may vary, I dare say, from community to community and from gang to gang, unless you deal with these deep-rooted issues, you're not going to make a dent in the problem. Now, in dealing with these issues, you ask what has been successful. There are a couple of approaches that have been used and very successfully. One approach is that you use a law enforcement approach, and I'm not saying it has to be a hard, forceful kind of approach. It could be, for instance, a community policing-based approach, where you use law enforcement agencies to control the violence in gang communities, and then you come in and you intervene with the sociologists, the psychologists, the social workers, etc., to try to get at the root of issues and change things. These things will not change overnight. But at the same time, you don't have to use a law enforcement approach. You could use other approaches. For instance, the cure violence approach was used in Trinidad and Tobago very, very successfully. And it resulted in a 38% decline in murders and shootings from 2014 to 2017 in 16 gang communities in the East Port-of-Spain area. And this is no small feat, because at the same time, violence in terms of murders and woundings and shootings increased by 16.4% in the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. And this particular approach used trained mediators called violence interrupters, who would be members of the community, well known, well respected, but who have their ear on the ground and they know when triggers of violence happen. For instance, if a shooting has occurred or somebody crossed, a certain imaginary boundary, or somebody slighted anybody, and it could result in violence. They have their ear on the ground. When these incidents occur, they go right away on the spot, any hour of the day or night. They go on the spot, they mediate, they calm down the situation, and they prevent the retaliatory violence. So it creates a certain level of calm, a certain level of peace within the communities, which creates a space for the practitioners like the psychologists and the social workers to come in and intervene. So the two-pronged approach: one, doing something to create peace in the communities with the gangs and with high levels of violence, and then during that space of peace, coming in and intervene. And this is exactly what I dare say the Zoso bill would have achieved. It could have created the peace through a law enforcement approach, then bring in the practitioners to intervene. It's not the only approach, certainly, as I mentioned, but that's the kind of approach that you need to take and that the research has shown is likely to be successful.
Yeah, well, Dr. Sipazad, on the Zosos bill, we heard recently that it may be introduced with or without support. So that's also something that we'll continue to discuss. My final question to you before we wrap up. This multi-sectoral approach, this symposium, everything coming out of this, what does it mean now going forward? What's next? What are we actually going to implement? And how soon can we see anything coming out of this symposium?
Right, good question. And I do want to thank Director Zahir Ali from the Ministry of Homeland Security for really taking the charge and for leading this particular initiative. So the symposium is just a start, or perhaps it might be even premature to say a start, because there is already so much good work going on across the various agencies that attended. But what the symposium participants aim to do is at the next stage, take sort of an accounting of who is doing what. So what are the various agencies across the nation that are dealing with the provision of services to children and young persons? What is within their remit and their mandate? What do they actually do? What are the gaps that they have on the ground at current? What are the problems that they're experiencing? And what are the recommendations that they have? So one of the things that Homeland Security, together with the University of the West Indies and the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists, will be doing is reaching out to agencies to find out more about what is happening and to look at what is happening in the context of trying to create a system that is better coordinated, where data is shared, where decisions are research-driven, and with a view towards identifying and remedying some of the gaps in such a way that the provision of services would be much more equitable across the board and would be much more concentrated where they are needed. And if there are certain things that don't exist at all, to develop those things. So, for instance, if there are certain laws that need to be amended, that can be done. If there are certain new pieces of legislation that need to be created, that also could be done. So the idea, generally speaking, is to create or to help, to develop a more coordinated system which can reach youths across the nation, whether it's through schools, communities, families, etc., so that services are provided that in the long run and as well medium to short term decrease their likelihood of engagement in crime and violence.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Randy Sipazad. Hopefully next time that you are joining us will be in studio. We definitely look forward to having you then and continuing this conversation. But thank you so much for your contribution today.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's criminologist Dr. Randy Sipazad talking all about early intervention for at-risk youth. How do we fix this problem going forward? That multi-sectoral approach, that symposium happening. Actually, we continue the conversation on that symposium a little later on. And of course, we have an update on Papa Wute, just as we promised, when we come back on Trinidad and Tobago Today.
91.1. Thought-provoking conversations, bold perspectives, voices you trust. Talk City 91.1, bigger, bolder, and more powerful than ever before.
Yes, Talk City 91.1 FM.
A brand new era of talk radio is here. With voices you know, trust, and respect. Get ready for an all-new lineup of the very best in talk. Andy Williams, Lennox Smith, Stephen Reese, Mr. X, Derek Charbodi, Roland Stewart, Sharon Farfan, Sudath Prasad, Heavy Duty, Alex Asing, Karen Francisco, Cherry-Leen Lewis, Short Pants, and more of the voices shaping the national conversation. From hard-hitting current affairs to real community issues, culture, politics, social development, and the stories that matter most to you. This is where Trinidad and Tobago comes to talk.
So I'll go right to on Talk City 91.1, where we're going to give you something new, something hot every day, Monday to Friday.
Listen on 91.1 FM and connect on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Talk City 91.1. Your city, your voice.
Greetings, hello to you there, and welcome to the CZIT National Secondary Schools Climate Quiz. I'm your host, Sachin Ram Subag, and I am pleased to be part of this great initiative.
Coming up, another show-stopping performance from the Republic Bank Exeter Steel Orchestra as Antigua and Barbuda got ready for its own fiesta of colour and energy. New ideas for Tobago tourism delivered at the Youth Congress. This highly rated property fits in perfectly with the vacation offerings of St. Kitts and Nevis, where the future of travel was laid out. It's Caribbean Passport TV on TTT.
More news, more access, more ways to stay informed. TTT News covers the stories that matter on air and online. Join us nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Well, at this time in the show, we'll look at what's happening around the region. Guyana's President Dr. Irfan Ali is urging immediate action to tackle what he described as a pandemic of gangs infiltrating secondary schools across the region at its root. While speaking at the country's Prison Service Annual Senior Corrections Officers Conference yesterday, Dr. Ali emphasized that interventions must reach schools, communities, and also homes. He said, we have to take the bull by the horns. We have to get into our secondary schools. We have to get into those schools, into those communities, into those homes. The president also called for a coordinated effort involving religious groups, civil society, and community leaders to identify the at-risk areas and vulnerable youth. Highlighting social factors contributing to crime, he noted that some children grow up in environments shaped by trauma, a lack of positive role models, and the influence of gang leaders and drug lords. He also added, if crime is normalized, that is going to be a learned behavior. If violence is normalized, that is going to be a learned behavior. Well, President Ali stressed that the priority in building secure communities must be to support youth through targeted reorientation and early intervention. While Jamaica is recording a significant drop in murders, with the rate down 29% up to March 14th, Well, this is according to the Jamaica Force. Well, the country has recorded 113 homicides so far this year, compared to 160 over the same period in 2025. Police are saying that 8 killings were recorded between March 18th and the 14th, a shift from the double-digit weekly figures seen throughout February. And overall, major crimes are down by 24%, with declines in shootings, robberies, rapes, and break-ins. St. James currently records the highest number of murders with 16, followed by St. Andrew South and Clarendon. Meanwhile, Kingston Central and St. Andrew North remain murder-free for the year so far. Well, police are crediting intensified operations and targeted strategies for the continued downward trend in violent crime. Moving on now, authorities in Haiti have arrested legislator Arnel Belizaire on charges, including financing terrorism and conspiracy against state security. Well, police made the arrest late Sunday, ending a 2-month manhunt for the outspoken political figure. Belizaire has dismissed the case as political intimidation. It's unclear if he has any legal representation. And he also recently registered a new political party ahead of the upcoming general elections. The United States had already accused him of his significant corruption and barred him and his family from entry. Belizaire has a history of arrests and prison escapes, including after the 2010 earthquake. Well, the move comes as gangs are believed to control most of the capital, Port-au-Prince. And tensions are escalating across the Middle East, with multiple flashpoints unfolding. In Iraq, a blast was heard near the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, with air defense systems seen intercepting a projectile close to the compound. Well, the embassy had also come under attack on Saturday. In Iran, a senior official, Ali Larijani, was reportedly targeted in an Israeli strike in Tehran. And Israel is saying it has launched a wide-scale wave of strikes on regime infrastructure in Tehran and Hezbollah targets in Beirut. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, Abu Dhabi has suspended operations at a gas field following a drone attack, and a tanker has reported being hit near a UAE oil port. And despite rising tensions, NATO allies have decided against expanding naval operations in the Strait of Hormuz, even as Iran warns that the strategic waterway cannot be the same as before. Well, to some lighter news now. He captured hearts all around the world after videos showed him being bullied, seeking comfort, and clinging to a plush toy for safety. This morning, we are talking about Punch. The monkey is finally settling in. He's that 7-month-old macaque, and he's in Japan, and he's making friends and growing more confident every single day. His zookeeper says the earlier rough interactions were simply part of adjusting and growing up. Punch is now relying less on his stuffed toy, a substitute for his mom, and he begins to find his place among the group. We take a break, and when we come back, much more on Trinidad and Tobago Today. Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
Ever wondered what happens before the lights come on? Before the crowd pours in? Before the magic hits the stage? This is your all-access pass. Sneak Peek with Junior K takes you behind the scenes of the biggest cultural moments and the hottest events across TNT. From the sound checks to the stage setups, from final rehearsals to exclusive interviews. If it's about to be big, we're already there. Catch Sneak Peek airing daily on TTT and relive every moment on all our social media platforms. Sneak Peek with Junior K, where the story starts before the spotlight.
Your news, anytime, anywhere. TTT News brings you the facts that matter most, on air and online. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Up for this exciting challenge and confident about your business? If you are, the 1020 feature is just what you need. It's where you give your customers 10 reasons in 20 seconds why they should shop by you. This fun-filled feature will be captured, packaged, and aired on television and promoted on social media simultaneously. Small, medium, and large businesses call or WhatsApp 764-3378 or 313-4215. Let's feature your business. 1020 with Junior K. It's affordable, effective, and fun.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is still hope. When the weight feels heavy and the night feels long, remember, your story isn't over. God's promises are still true. His love is still strong. And your breakthrough is still coming. Join us for Messages of Hope, Words of Encouragement with Pastor Jesse. Presented by Youth Fires. Hope lives here, only on TTT.
Well, we just spoke about Punch, but now we have an update on Papa Ute, the ocelot whose story we shared with you last week when we spoke with vet Dr. Kriyan Singh of the La Romaine Veterinary Clinic. Well, there are encouraging signs. Just 21 days after being shot in the spine and left for dead, Papa Ute has taken his first supported steps during physiotherapy. Using a sling and harness system, he was able to support his weight and stabilize his spine. He was also assisted as he began stepping as part of his rehabilitation. Now, Dr. Singh, along with Dr. James Bola Singh, also carried out stretching and sensory stimulation exercises to strengthen his limbs. And despite some neurological weakness caused by the spinal injury, Papa Ute responded well during the 1-hour therapy session and really continues to show promising signs of recovery. Here he is now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. That's emotional reward, right? Let's go. Put that down now. Up now. Right. Right. Ready, James? We'll give him a little height. A little more height. Right there. 1, 2. Come on, Papa. A little more height, James. A little more height. Come on, Papa. Alright. I like what I'm seeing, James. Let him go down a little bit on that ground. Alright, go down. Yes. Yes, yes. You have to do what you want. go down and get the blessings. With me, that's okay, because it's fever, so lovely.
Well, that's exclusive footage from Dr. Kriyan Singh. Thank you so much for that update, Dr. Singh. We will obviously be showing you more updates as they come to hand with the progress of Papa Ute. We send love and best wishes to Papa Ute in his healing journey, and thank you to Dr. Singh for his great efforts and everything he's been doing. Also, Dr. Bola Singh and the entire clinic. While we take a break, we head to the news. The major network news is up at the top of the hour with Carrie. When we come back, we continue talking about that multi-sectoral approach, that symposium that happened, all about early prevention of crime and addressing the youth.
Don't miss the Southern Games at Skinner Park in San Fernando. Come out and support our top athletes and cyclists. On Saturday the 21st of March, athletics heats begin at 9:30 a.m. and on Sunday the 22nd of March, athletics and cycling from 1:30 p.m. Bring out the entire family. Admission is $60. Children under 14 you pay $20 and children under 5 you are free. Get tickets at Ateliers by the Park and Wadi's Hardware in Marabella. Attractive door prizes to be won. For further information, you can call 368-5649 or 778-3274. The games are coming. The games are coming. 7 games. It's on.
Your world moves fast, so do we. TTT News brings you the people, events, and issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay ahead. TTT News, every night at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
This Ramadan, join me, Charlene Lewis, for Ramadan Reflections, a weekly television series exploring meaningful conversations on fasting and the significance of the holy month. Airing every Tuesday at 8:05 p.m. on TTT, beginning Tuesday 24th February, we delve into real, relatable topics that inspire spiritual growth, discipline, and understanding during Ramadan. Let's reflect, learn, and grow together this blessed month.
You are dearer to me than all the stars. So many wish but never reach. 'Cause when I'm falling and all the world seems dark, you help me find my peace. Oshun mi ba vijani. Oshun mi ba.
Good morning, this is your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. Making the news at this time. Alarming levels of abuse, family instability, and exposure to crime in early childhood are fueling Trinidad and Tobago's growing youth violence problem, according to criminologist Dr. Randy Seepersad. Speaking on Trinidad and Tobago Today, Dr. Seepersad said research shows that many young offenders were shaped long before they entered the criminal justice system, growing up with multiple adverse childhood experiences that sharply increase the risk of later violence. He pointed to recent local and international research revealing that significant numbers of children are raised in homes affected by incarceration, emotional and physical abuse, substance misuse, and family breakdown.
And for instance, we found for the average youth, and these figures are still very high, mind you, 25% had substance use in the home when they were a child versus 43% in St. Jude's and YTRC who had parents who abused substances. In the country as a whole, 21% had a parent with mental illness compared to 26% of youths in St. Jude's and YTRC. In the country as a whole, 26% had, this is very high, a household member who was incarcerated versus 63% of the youths who were in St. Jude's and YTRC.
Switching gears now, visitors planning to travel to Tobago for the upcoming Easter holiday can expect additional flights and ferry services as measures are being put in place to ease the annual surge in travel demand. This was revealed by Tobago House of Assembly Secretary of Youth Empowerment and Sport, Keegan Denoon, who noted that the decision comes following discussions with the central government. He acknowledged that Easter remains Tobago's most oversubscribed travel season, but said efforts are ongoing to improve access to the island through increased flight availability, including the possible use of jet aircraft to service the air bridge.
So you would be aware that Easter in Tobago is always oversubscribed, and thankfully with the relationship that we have with central government, they have given their commitment to ensuring that additional flights would be made available. We are currently in the process of seeing how best we can have a jet service the air bridge during that period, and so you can look forward to having additional flights being made available to the public of Tobago during that period.
Mr. Dinu noted that while there is still room,
He further explained that discussions have also been held with the Port Authority to ensure ferry services are ready in time.
All the vessels ready for Easter. I know boats are currently undergoing repairs. Once those repairs are completed in time, they would be ready for Easter. If not, the Galleon's passage would also be available to take off some of the strain. But we are ensuring that everybody who wants to be here in Tobago would be able to come, whether by air or by sea. As an administration, we are mindful of the challenges that people face coming to the island. So we are trying our best to ensure that you have the smoothest possible experience in getting to the island.
He also praised the central government for its willingness to collaborate, particularly given the economic importance of Easter events to communities such as Buku and Mount Pleasant. In other news, Minister of Works and Infrastructure, Jerlene John, met with the British High Commissioner to TNT, John Dean, to discuss potential areas of collaboration aimed at advancing the country's infrastructure development objectives. The meeting also included Director of Infrastructure Exports UK, Dean Purvis, and Country Director at the United Kingdom's Department for Business and Trade, Giselle Roberts. Discussions focus on exploring opportunities for strategic partnerships that could support Trinidad and Tobago's long-term development agenda. Minister John welcomed the engagement, highlighting the value of international cooperation in strengthening national development efforts. She emphasized the importance of sustained dialogue to identify initiatives that would result in sustainable and impactful infrastructure solutions for the country. In some sport news now, interim head coach of the Trinidad and Tobago senior men's football team, Derek King, labeled TNT's 3-0 loss against Bolivia as naive performance by his players. In their away international friendly, TNT kept the score goalless until the 23rd minute before conceding 3 goals in their first match since the departure of former head coach Dwight York. TNT will now shift their focus to their March 27th meeting against Venezuela in the FIFA series.
I think Pulsar, he was a bit naive in a sense that we didn't put up with football athlete. As I told you guys, what they got for this is difficult. A team that prepared the players, their playoff games. The first 20 minutes, as I told them, we have to stay the game. We have to stay the game. And I think, we are now our soft going. I mean, this is to be 20 seconds. We have to. Football, we want to think, and the guys did well for themselves.
And that's what's making the news at this time. I'm Carrie Roberts. We now get into hour number 2 of the Trinidad and Tobago Today morning show after this break.
Greetings, hello to you there, and welcome to the CZIT National Secondary Schools Climate Quiz. I'm your host, Sachin Ramsubag, and I am pleased to be part of this great initiative.
Kids, speak up against abuse.
It is not acceptable for you to be abused in any manner.
From your parents, family members, or peers.
You have the right
to refuse the abuse. Report it to anyone.
Guidance counselors,
doctors, teachers, or even your neighbors.
Anyone who can help.
Speak up
against abuse.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Break the silence. Child abuse is one secret you should never keep.
Hey, up for this exciting challenge and confident about your business? If you are, the 1020 feature is just what we do. It's where you give your customers 10 reasons in 20 seconds why they should shop by you. This fun-filled feature will be captured, packaged, and aired on television and promoted on social media simultaneously. Small, medium, and large businesses call or WhatsApp 764-3378 or 313-4215. Let's feature your business. 1020 with Junior K. It's affordable, effective, and fun.
When we decided to get married, and when we did eventually get married, my love for you had to evolve. Because now that we are living together, I had to learn how to love you. Because before I was in love with the Leah who I saw when we went on dates. The Leah who I saw when we spent weekends together. The Leah who I saw on the good times, the face of you. Now I had to love the you who I didn't see, the 80% of you that I wasn't accustomed to.
Right, the Leah having a bad day.
The Leah having a bad day. Right. The Leah with a silk scarf on her head. The Leah who's not feeling well. Right. The Leah who's emotional about something, who's upset about something. The Leah who's upset about work, who's insecure about something. All of those things do not come to play while we were dating.
Not really in its fullness.
Not in its fullness. So as soon as we took it to covenant, that is where the whole empathy and compassion side of things came for me. And it grew our love to the point where my love for you became, how could I evolve to help this relationship?
Right. So selfless.
Selfless. We start getting into the selfless love.
The Marriage Confessional, only on TTT.
Well, we began this discussion in the previous hour and we continue now. That major conversation has just taken place, and one that could shape how Trinidad and Tobago responds to some of its most pressing social challenges. The Ministry of Homeland Security, through its Policy and Community Support Office, recently hosted a symposium bringing together government agencies, psychologists, researchers, and international partners to examine emotional and behavioral issues among the vulnerable youth, and more importantly, how to address them. Now, the focus was clear: early identification, prevention and treatment, all within a coordinated, and here's that word, multi-sectoral framework. But beyond the discussions and the presentations, the key question now is, what happens next? Well, joining us this morning is attorney at law, Mr. Zahir Ali, director of the Policy and Community Support Office, along with Hugh Withing law student Victoria Dugu via Zoom, as we unpack the outcomes, the gaps, and the way forward for Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Virmala. And first, let me take this opportunity first to recognize your excellent work that you've been doing on this particular station and inspiring everyone, including myself. And I want to urge you to keep up the great work for Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And thank you for being here and spending time with us this morning to unpack this symposium. Also, good morning to you, Victoria. I know that you are joining us via Zoom now. I know Victoria was a part of the symposium, and we definitely want to ask her about her experience and all of that when she is back on the screen. Well, first things first, Mr. Ali, can you tell us what exactly is PACSO? And I'm saying it correctly, it's PACSO. What is the role within the ministry?
Well, thank you very much for that, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago and those who are viewing, out of the jurisdiction as well. PACSO, Policy and Community Support Office in the Ministry of Homeland Security, is a specially established unit by a cabinet note to look at policy and community development in Trinidad and Tobago in a very diverse and wide perspective. Initially, this unit was set up to look at law enforcement, to assist law enforcement agencies in looking at their reforms, strategies, and recommendations. But over the years, it has broadened to look at community engagement, and hence why PACSO is now finding itself holding on to many different state agencies, and may I say state agencies and also non-state actors in devising and coming up with policies and community intervention strategies to look at prosperity, in Trinidad and Tobago in a multi-sectoral way.
Right. So multi-sectoral, that's the hot word today. Now, how did this collaboration for the symposium, how did it all come about?
Excellent question. Virmala, when you looked at what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago for a period of time, we recognize that you cannot shoot your way out of the situation where crime and criminality is concerned. It's a very demanding, challenging situation. But when we looked at it, we recognized there was an urgent need for at least one of the ministries who has the ultimate responsibility for crime and criminality to take that step to have engagements with very key stakeholders. And key stakeholders, I want to recognize immediately the University of the West Indies Behavioral Science Department, and also the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists, two very important institutions. Having had a discussion with these agencies or these stakeholders, we thought it was important to widen that focus and bring other key stakeholders, like, for example, the TTPS, the Children's Authority, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, Social Development, non-state actors into the discussion. Because we recognize that when we're looking at crime and criminality, over the period, we have always looked to international context to see, well, how can we deal with our situations locally? And the key for me, Virmala, is the symposium in itself. It was a clear indication that the stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago were looking for a voice. And looking for a voice, a collective voice coming under one umbrella to really see how we can respond, not from a symposium context, but from a state's context and a non-state actor context. Yeah. So the benefits for me is having the opportunity for full and frank disclosure, removing barriers and boundaries that may have separated very important ministries, and also the opportunity to listen to each other, because no one person has the solution. And is at that juncture, I would like to take this opportunity publicly to recognize the Honorable Minister of Homeland Security and the permanent secretaries in the Homeland Ministry, together with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health and Social Development, as the leading agencies with reference to what we are trying to accomplish with reference to the symposium.
Yeah, so I want to turn to you, Victoria. Are you there on Zoom with us?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Victoria. So you were also a part of the symposium. I know you attended, and Mr. Ali, it's like a young person being involved in the issues of young people, and that is an excellent approach as well. Victoria, tell us about your experience at the symposium. How was that, and being a part of everything happening and having a voice as well?
Well, firstly, I want to say on behalf of everyone, thank you towards the coordinators, Mr. Ali, Mrs. Victoria Sinarine, and other persons who were involved for actually having student volunteers involved in the symposium. Because, we had a hands-on approach in terms of being there, being able to meet with and listen to the many stakeholders that presented their points. And one thing that stood out to me was the passion that was present with everyone present at the symposium. Another thing that I want to say that was very impactful was the sharing of a personal experience by someone who was present. And he spoke about having, his personal experience in terms of his life was basically turned around or changed with the impact and guidance of two persons who weren't even related to him, blood related. And this, I would say, would be like a highlight in terms of promoting emotional well-being among vulnerable youths. And I think this is a key with, taking someone who's not even your child, for example, and you can guide him, whoever, to a better path, a path away from crime, sort of thing. So that's something that stood out during the symposium. And we really got to hear the different insights of different persons of different professions. We had many psychologists, we had lawyers, and many others who presented their guidance, their recommendations. And this also raised the importance of having the psychosocial aspect. That's mainly what they spoke about as well, which is a key factor in this fight against crime. And another aspect that stood out is that we see the importance of teamwork with the many stakeholders that were present. And yes, you could accomplish many things by yourself, but having a team, a good working team available and present is important.
Yeah, Victoria,
because we saw that. Pardon.
I want to ask you, what do you think the youth voice can bring to this discussion? The youth being present in a symposium like this, how powerful is that?
Well, okay, so what I mentioned earlier about the personal experience that was shared, for example, so that shows how impactful the youth voice is. For example, someone who walked, for example, a certain path of life and overcame it, for example. He was able to stand there and, basically testify in a sense of what he went through, the guidance he had. So it's really meeting youths on a personal level, a level that they can all relate to, sort of thing. So I would say that's very impactful because sometimes you need that extra step, that extra chemistry, I could say, to really help someone to, for example, move away from crime, for example. Yeah. So very impactful, I would say.
Mr. Ali, back to you. How important was it for, everyone planning this and getting this together to include that youth voice?
I think it was extremely important. And, as I said earlier, that as a country, we have different culture, different traditions. And it was important for us as stakeholders to really look and develop a strategy or a policy that can be effectively applied in Trinidad and Tobago. So yes, when you look outside, international, regionally, you may see very attractive strategies, interventions. But you have to look at it in our context. And I think the purpose of the symposium was to bring our academics, bring our experts who would have had that opportunity to interact with vulnerable youths and even in some cases adults to really get an understanding as to what exactly is the problem in Trinidad and Tobago. So I think the genesis of the symposium really placed us now, in my respectful view and humbly, in a very commanding position. When you hear about a symposium, one may think, okay, it's another conference, it's another talk shop. What I want to assure Trinidad and Tobago this morning, and I want to ask the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to step out and be prepared to hold our hands, all these stakeholders, to be able to bring Trinidad and Tobago back into a state where we have respect for life, safety, and security. And most importantly, at the symposium, Virmala, I need to make mention of this from when you're looking at an authority. One of the impactful things of this symposium as well, there was a clear expression of the importance of the right to health. And the right to health, looking at the state's responsibility to fulfill that right to health. So when we spoke about the biopsychosocial context, looking at crime and criminality from that context, immediately you are looking at the human being. And, you know, can I link it? The ocelot that we saw a while ago, you saw the efforts that doctors and experts were applying to ensure that an animal recovered. And I need to make this comparison. Our human beings, our vulnerable youths, they are injured in different ways. And how do we really tailor an intervention? It cannot be a strict law enforcement approach. As I said before, we cannot shoot our way out of this. We cannot charge our way out of this. The various hats that we have seen it. But it's important for us to look at it in a multi-sectoral way where we're looking at both primary intervention, hard law enforcement, that is required, but equally we are looking at the secondary measures. And this, in my view, answers the response from a secondary context and looking at social intervention in an effective manner. And I want to salute all the professionals, the criminologists, and Dr. Randy C. Prasad was previously on your program, the psychologists, the social workers, and all the state agencies, and even the NGOs, the Heroes Foundation, for the way that they actively embrace that forum. You know, when you come to a workshop or you come to a symposium, Virmala, you sometimes you don't see 100% buy-in. What I saw, and I'm measuring it on the feedback, the symposium came to an end at about 4:30. And you know, at that time, and looking at persons who may have had a long day, they'll be hurried to leave the symposium. You saw the symposium, there were a lot of interaction, there were a lot of conversation, there was a lot of engagement. So I'm very excited, and you know, in a short while, I will identify exactly what is the steps in moving forward to really make that public statement or statements that is required to be made.
Yeah, you know, in our discussion this morning with Dr. C. Prasad,
yes,
he addressed basically the socio-economic factors and also the fact that you can't necessarily go into the families, but you have to create opportunities for families and education and awareness and all of that. And it truly was a multi-sectoral approach, and it's finding out how to attack this problem from all angles. So now I'm going to ask you, Mr. Ali, what were the key takeaways from the symposium? What is actually coming out of it? And now what can we see being put in motion for us?
Excellent question. Immediately, a debrief of this exercise is scheduled for Monday with the key stakeholders. And we had taken the opportunity to record this session. So we have the recording to be able to have that review and reflection done. So that's the first thing in terms of a debrief. The second thing that we are looking to do immediately, Virmala, we have already identified immediate steps that can be taken. And I'm talking immediate step both from a legislative context, from a operational context, from an administrative context. And I'll just share something just to tease the mind of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago and to hint to the Parliament that we'll be knocking on the door in a short while. When you look at our legislative framework, when a child has to enter primary school, that child needs a certificate of immunization. So for example, yellow fever, measles, and so it's protecting the child and the population that the child is going into with reference to those identifiable communicable disease. Coming out of this symposium and recognizing the importance of psychosocial assessment, an amendment to that legislation to ensure that a child, even at that age, to have an early screening, to be able to early detect whether in fact a child may be in need of care and protection from a health context, so that you're not waiting for a child to go through a 5-year period at the SCE level or entering secondary school, and the behavior is aggravated and it is affecting the child, the family, and the population. So it's important for us to understand that we need to make early intervention, and hence why the operative words, early identification, prevention, and treatment. How can you know that a child is in need of care and protection or treatment, when you are not taking steps to identify? What you're going to do to wait for a child to get into a serious act of violence, whether a child will injure himself, herself, or other persons, and then we are now looking to say, okay, let's look at this child, let's screen this child, let's see what's happening with this child. Is it an issue home? Is it an environment? Is it that this child has a medical issue? These are things that if we love our children, if we are looking at the future of Trinidad and Tobago, it's important for us to be thinking proactively and ensure that this is an intelligence and evidence-driven process. And I'm just using one little example from a legislative context. Operationally, I will go as well, that there's something very significant happening in Trinidad and Tobago. Children are being charged with criminal offenses. And the question that has to be answered is whether, in fact, a proper assessment is being done before you initiate criminal proceedings on a child. Because if you are not careful, you can aggravate the mental health when a child is charged and placed before a court. And I'm not saying in any way that a child should not be charged once that child has the age of criminal liability. But we should be extra careful when we are assessing the factors that should be considered when we are speaking of our children in Trinidad and Tobago. So I think that those are very significant matters. I am very excited. Virmala, I've echoed to the steering committee, Dr. Esnar, Dr. Randy Sipasar, the president of the Association of Psychologists, Victoria Sinarain Jilal Singh, as the Dr. Budram, Sharon Budram, sociologist. I've signaled very strictly to them that we are not going to sit back, knowing that the stakeholders have basically responded to our call, and the nation is highly anticipating quick results because Trinidad and Tobago is roaring for an intervention.
Yeah, early detection. And that's actually a really good point, Mr. Ali. Just identifying behavioral challenges in children early. That is actually a really impressive point. Victoria, before we go, I want to ask you, are you hopeful now after attending the symposium that, a lot more will be done? What are you feeling now after you've witnessed all of this and you've been a part of all of this?
Yes, definitely. I'm feeling hopeful, mainly because I saw the determination amongst all the stakeholders and everyone who were present. They're not going to leave it there. They're going to continue and pursue until this social issue is curbed. So definitely hopeful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Victoria. And before we go, Mr. Ali, just one more question. You say there's a debrief being planned for Monday. So what can we expect to hear after that? Will we be privy to any of that coming out of the debrief?
Well, I'll be very happy, Virmala. If you see importance in that debrief, we'll be excited to come back on this particular program to be able to identify exactly what the debrief has brought forward. But I want to assure you that the news and the headlines will be occupied with the steps and the responses that we are taking. And I would like to close with this that I said in this symposium. If not now, when? And if not us, who? And to the media, because I'm close to you, you will have a very important and instrumental role to promote the cause of this symposium and the actions and strategies that will be emerging from it for the future of Trinidad and Tobago. And I think that will be holding on to your constitutional right in a firm way when we speak about freedom of the press. So I want to thank you all very much for the opportunity on behalf of all the stakeholders to share this moment. And I ask the citizenry to be prepared and ready to join hands with us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali, and also Victoria for joining us via Zoom this morning, talking about our vulnerable youth. How can we start detecting behavioral challenges from early on, and how can we prevent things from going further and escalating into the situation that we're currently seeing in Trinidad and Tobago today? 7:28 on Trinidad and Tobago Today. When we come back, the show continues. Hope you're having a great morning.
City 91.1. Thought-provoking conversations, bold perspectives, voices you trust. Talk City 91.1. Bigger, bolder, and more powerful than ever before.
Yes, Talk City 91.1 FM.
A brand new era of talk radio is here. With voices you know, trust, and respect. Get ready for an all-new lineup of the very best in talk. Andy Williams, Lennox Smith, Stephen Reese, Mr. X, Derek Charbodi, Roland Stewart, Sharon Farfan, Sudath Prasad, Heavy Duty, Alex Asing, Karen Francisco, Cherry-Leen Lewis, Short Pants, and more of the voices shaping the national conversation. From hard-hitting current affairs to real community issues, culture, politics, social development, and the stories that matter most to you. This is where Trinidad and Tobago comes to talk.
It's all good right here on Talk City 91.1, where we're going to give you something new, something hot every day, Monday to Friday.
Listen on 91.1 FM and connect on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Talk City 91.1. Your city, your voice.
You are dearer to me than all the stars. So many wish but never reach. 'Cause when I'm falling and all the world seems dark, you help me find my peace. Oh, shun mi ba fishani. Oh, shun mi ba yeah. Oh, shun mi ba fishani. Arubita, yeah, 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 yeah,
TTT News, every night at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is still hope. When the weight feels heavy and the night feels long, remember, your story isn't over. God's promises are still true, His love is still strong, and your breakthrough is still coming. Join us for Messages of Hope, Words of Encouragement with Pastor Jesse, presented by Youth Fires. Hope lives here, only on TTT.
Important discussions this morning on Trinidad and Tobago Today, as usual. And for everything that you see on the show, you can find it on TTT Live Online. You can also follow us at TTT Live Online and TNT Today Show. If you want to email us, maybe you want to advertise, collaborate with us, you want to share a press release or an idea, anything, all you have to do is email us at tttoday@ttt.co.tt. Once again, on the screen, that's tttoday@ttt.co.tt. And you can be a part of the conversation that's shaping our nation. You can also collaborate with us through the airwaves, through Talk City 91.1 FM, Sweet 100.1 FM, and Next 99.1 FM. Well, moving on this morning, we turn to sport. Now in its 38th year, the Catch National Junior Tennis Championships is TNT's premier platform for youth tennis development. Well, for many young competitors, this tournament is their first step toward regional and international representation. The Catch National Junior Tennis Championships celebrates the next generation of national tennis talent, and it is a staple on the annual sports calendar for promoting youth development, discipline, and excellence in sport. Well, joining me this morning to chat all about this, I have Mr. Hayden Mitchell, President of the Tennis Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and junior tennis player representing the TTO in the World Juniors Division Under 14, Eli Patty. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
So you were missing school to be here this morning.
Yep.
But you're going right after.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, firstly, the championship is 38 years old.
Yes,
For
correct.
people who don't know about it, tell us all about this and what makes it so important to our national sports.
Right. So good morning to the TTT viewers on all the media platforms. We're always excited to talk about this junior national tournament. As you said, this is our 38th year of sponsorship and collaboration with associated brands and their brand Catch, right? Catch has been with it for 38 years. Now, this junior tournament is the premier tournament where we get to see all our nationals, and based on how they do in the tournament, they're able to be selected for national duty. So we have young Mr. Patty here. You know, he would have done catch. How long are you playing catch now, Eli?
Going on 4 years.
About 4 years now, right?
Wow.
And Eli would have represented us at the under 12 division level. So we host a regional under 12 championship, which winners, which we've won quite a few times, go on to play Mexico, go on to play in Mexico. Eli was part of our team last year. He did quite well.
And now he's part of the under 14.
Now he is part of the under 14. You know, so the Catch Junior National Tournament, I mean, the kids look forward to this every year. You know, and the team at Catch really put on a wonderful event. And of course, they look forward to all their chocolates. What's the best thing then? The chocolates?
Yes, the chocolates.
The chocolates, right?
Well, Eli, how long have you been playing? Take us back to the beginning. How did you get into tennis? And what about tennis keeps bringing you back from under 12 now to under 14?
Well,
and you're balancing this with school.
Yeah. I also started tennis when I was 4. So, and ever since I picked up a tennis racket, I've just always felt a special connection, and my coaches always told me how I had a talent for the sport, and I just followed that talent, and it led me on several national teams.
Wow. And how you feel with all of this fame and success?
I don't even know how to describe it.
Oh my. Euphoria?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hayden, for parents who are watching right now and you know, they might want their child to pick up a racket and to really get into this, what programs are available to get young people started in tennis in Trinidad and Tobago?
Right, so that's a very good question. You know, we are very much into physical literacy, right? Because, you know, sadly, there's really, I call it a pandemic of the screen, right? You know, so all these kids are on their screen time, and they're not really outside doing stuff. We've partnered with Catch this year, and they're actually going to be sponsoring 4 packages for players who want to learn tennis, because the Tennis Association has a Learn to Play happening at the National Racket Center. So we have it for both adults. So if anybody here in the studio wants to learn to play, they could come up to the National Racket Center, and we also have it for kids. So associated brands will be advertising it on their website, through their social media, and they could get packages, and they'll be sponsoring people to play. So there are classes, adults and kids, learn to play.
What do you like most about tennis?
I just love I'm like discipline a lot. I just like doing the same thing over and over and over.
Oh, you like a routine?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about winning?
There's obviously winning. I love winning.
You love winning as well. So if there's a young person out there who's just thinking about playing tennis, what would you tell them? Maybe they think they might like it.
I would tell them to just follow their dreams.
Yeah.
If they feel tennis, pick up a racket, try the sport. Just give it a try, and especially Catch. You get a lot of chocolates.
I feel like that's the most important part. Yeah. Speaking of that euphoria, you know? So Hayden, what are some of the changes you've seen to national tennis over the time that you've been doing this?
You know, we put a lot of structure into tennis. This is in Trinidad and Tobago. Since I'm at the helm, and we put a lot of effort into coaching and coaching education. Because we recognize that, you know, without the coaches, you know, we're not able to go where we want to go. We are seeing a lot of fruits of our labor. We just had a Junior Davis Cup and Junior Billie Jean King Cup team, under 16 team, just came back last month, where the guys finished 4th. You know, they were this away from qualifying to go up to the next stage. You know, so we are seeing a lot of progress in how our players are advancing. And of course, it's really a work in progress, right? Yeah. There's no secret formula. But, you know, it's a lot of hard work. We also have a national junior development program, which Eli is a part of. And, you know, he spoke about being very disciplined, you know, and he's up there. Of course, you have to say hello to their parents, because, you know, it's really the parents and the grandparents and the nannies, everybody who comes together to get an athlete ready.
Yeah.
It really takes a village, you know. So, you know, we have a national development program where we are seeing the fruits of our labor as well.
Yeah. Hayden, what do young people get out of this from competing at a national level like this, not just on the court, but off the court as well?
You know, there's nothing like representing your country. You know, Eli is flying the flag this morning, which we're happy to see. But, you know, there's a pride in representing your country. It's sports in general. It gives you, there are certain things that it teaches you for life. So whether you decide you want to be a national athlete or international, or you go into whatever your career is, it teaches you. Eli spoke about discipline, right? It teaches you about hard work, focus, problem solving, critical thinking. So in a lot of these sports like tennis, which is, singular sports, this is individual sports, it is you alone out there by yourself. Mommy and daddy not there to tell you, no, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So from a very young age, they're able to handle pressure. And, it helps them, whether it's schoolwork, whether it is, just dealing with life. So we're excited about that.
My final question to you is, what is the Tennis Association working on to secure the future of tennis in Trinidad and Tobago?
Excellent question. Right. So we are getting the National Racket Center certified as an ITF regional training center. What that means for Trinidad and Tobago, and of course young athletes like Eli, is that there's now an international center that is certified with all the technology, all the programs, the policies, and of course the staff, trained staff, to develop a player. So we call it from the womb to the tomb, right? So we must be able to have players who want to come from Trinidad and Tobago. They stay in Trinidad and Tobago, they are developed in Trinidad and Tobago, they are able to compete in competitions in Trinidad and Tobago, whether it is professional or they want to go to be a coach or whatever they want to do. And that is something we are very much focused on.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eli, congratulations and good luck going forward. Thank you for joining us this morning. And we can't wait to see what's going to come out of this tournament. All right. Well, we're talking all about tennis this morning. The time now, it is just about 7:41. When we come back, we've got Shamla Miraj with Redefining Normal on Trinidad and Tobago Today. Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. We report the news, real stories in real time. TTT News, nightly at 7. TTT News, committed, accurate, relevant.
Ever wondered what happens before the lights come on? Before the crowd pours in? Before the magic hits the stage? This is your all-access pass. Sneak Peek with Junior K takes you behind the scenes of the biggest cultural moments and the hottest events across TNT. From the sound checks to the stage setups, from final rehearsals to exclusive interviews. If it's about to be big, we're already there. Catch Sneak Peek airing daily on TTT and relive every moment on all our social media platforms. Sneak Peek with Junior K, where the story starts before the spotlight.
It's that time of the year again, my friends. You feel it in the air. Football, football, football. It's back and everyone's locked in. This is Richard Torpedo Thompson and my Trinidad and Tobago people. I'll stay this straight. Fans make the game. Cheers, chants, passion. That's the heartbeat of football. There's only one 12th man that really brings the energy. That's Andre Errol Batiste on TTT. Every Thursday on TTT. Don't miss it.
Hey, Hey, up for this exciting challenge and confident about your business? If you are, the 1020 feature is just what you need. It's where you give your customers 10 reasons in 20 seconds why they should shop by you. This fun-filled feature will be captured, packaged, and aired on television and promoted on social media simultaneously. Small, medium, and large businesses call or WhatsApp 764-3378 or 313-4215. Let's feature your business. 1020 with Junior K. It's affordable, effective, and fun.
Well, this weekend, the world observes World Down Syndrome Day. That's happening on March 21st. And this year's theme is Together Against Loneliness. And this highlights the importance of meaningful inclusion and stronger community support for people living with Down syndrome. And as you know, every single Tuesday, we feature Shamla Miraj with Redefining Normal. And today, Shamla focuses on World Down Syndrome Day. So here we have Shamla with Redefining Normal.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Redefining Normal with me, Shamla. Today, I have Lisa Gandhi, Public Relations Officer and Director of the Down Syndrome Family Network. She's here to talk about World Down Syndrome Day and Down Syndrome Conference that is happening on the 19th in Tobago and Trinidad, respectively. So good morning, Lisa. How are you doing?
Good morning, Shamla. Doing very well, up and early and, getting ready for this week. Very exciting. It's always very exciting to come to this time,
Yes. Yes, and I know it's a busy week for you. So it's really a pleasure to, to have you on. So this year, anniversary of the Down Syndrome Family Networks. And looking back, what impact has your organization had on families in Trinidad and Tobago over the years?
Well, this year is our 15th anniversary. And so it really was a time for a little introspection, as an organization to look at, how we are making a difference in our society and what we've done for 15 years. So being the only network or association that represents persons with Down syndrome, we had focused mainly on education, awareness, advocacy, lobbying for, disability rights and so on. And even though it is a slow movement, because it is a movement of change, to society, to attitudes and values, we have seen so much progress. We have over 450 families registered now with the network. And the lives of the kids who have actually been with us since inception 15 years ago is an amazing story. We now have kids who have actually done the SCA exam. They are working, it's not enough, but it's still making that difference and showing parents of especially the younger Down syndrome population that once they approach it with early intervention and, they walk the walk with their kids, there is so much possibility for them to live an included life and to succeed.
How much persons are living with Down syndrome? We really need that support, that extra support in terms of bringing inclusion. So the theme for this observance is Together Against Loneliness. Why is this so important for persons with Down syndrome and their families?
Well, internationally, they choose the theme globally for World Down Syndrome Day. And prior to this, during the last year, Down Syndrome International did many surveys to come up with this theme. So there were different topics that they looked at. And overall, they realized that this was one of the biggest issues facing the Down syndrome community globally. And it came out of the fact that loneliness is not a choice, and we talk a lot about inclusion, but what does true inclusion really look like? As they say, being present is not the same as being included. So sometimes, as organizations, as groups, and so on, we may invite the person with a disability or with Down syndrome to the event, but do we really look at how they can be truly included through the accommodations that we make for them in the event, through the program, through the discussions, through actual access to the venues? And there's so many ways that we have to think through the inclusion, not just, as I say, by issuing the invitation. So also participation. If a person comes to a party, if you have a kid, you've seen it with typical children. You bring them to a party and, there's a kid that is sitting by themselves. No one's playing with them. And they're at the party, but they're not really included. So what is the extra steps that you can take to ensure that that person is not, left on the sidelines? And many times this is caused by stigmas too that we have and things that we don't know.
You said it right. When we do not know, we don't know to certain situations. So we have to become familiar. And I think really an epidemic that is happening not only with disabilities, but everything that is going on in the world right now. So can you tell us a little bit about the upcoming event? When it be?
The event, yes. Well, the event is happening tomorrow in Tobago at the Magdalena Grand Hotel, and that is for our families in Tobago. And of course, we do everything that we do in Trinidad, we replicate in Tobago, so that we have persons coming from the Tobago House of Assembly, educators, people in healthcare, students, of course, are very important, teachers, principals of schools, and it has been approved by the Ministry of Education for principals to attend, so that we will have our guest speaker, Matthew Schwab, who is from the United States of America, speaking about the topic and how he, in his journey, has been able to overcome a lot of these stigmas and barriers. Matthew is a very involved person in work and community. And in fact, he's actually getting married in September to his fiancée of many years, who he met while he was growing up in school. So, we like to do this because it's important for our parents to understand and our communities to understand that once given the opportunity and also given the education and the tools, persons with Down syndrome can live a fully productive life.
Pick a lineup. I really want to ask this. We're Down polls on the 21st, right? And it's
Yes.
a Saturday. And we usually have we want to have schools and stuff involved. How can and many people take part in it. How can individual schools and workplace join to show their support this year?
Well, the conference in Trinidad is on Thursday. Our guest of honor will be Her Excellency, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Christine Carla Kangaloo. One of our speakers also includes the Honorable Minister of Education, Michael Dowlath. And then we have a session with therapists, Haley Pancho and Coach Derek Simon, to show how we can approach the theme, things that we can do to improve the lives of the persons in our communities by, addressing mental health and depression, and what are the solutions. Of course, we want to offer some solutions to these things. We also have a panel discussion with teachers and parents and our guest speaker as well, discussing, the reality. People need to tell their stories. It's not just an academic exercise. So to tell their stories and what they have actually done to succeed in having their person with Down syndrome integrated into school and into community. So those things will be some of the main focus, including Matthew, of course, as our guest speaker at the conference at the Hyatt. Now, the conference at the Hyatt, we're glad to say it's sold out. And so we have offered an online platform that will be open to the public. There's a small fee for joining, and they can go to Island e-tickets to register if they would like to come online now at this stage. But of course, we'll be posting a lot of things afterwards so that the community and the public can see what has been done.
How can persons reach out to the network, Down Syndrome Family Network?
They can reach out to the network via our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on X, we have a YouTube channel. And if they look on those platforms, there is the flyer for the conference, which has a telephone contact number that we usually respond to within 24 hours, messages on WhatsApp, so that they can contact us in that way.
Closing message. What would you like to tell Trinidad and Tobago in terms of, participating in the Lots of Socks campaign and so on?
Well, Lots of Socks is a national campaign. We've asked people to rock their socks on Thursday because of our holiday on Friday, and of course, Saturday, people are not at school and work. So go out there, but make sure when you rock your socks, you advocate, you create some sort of educational forum, and of course, enjoy and celebrate if you have a person with Down syndrome in your family.
So it's a pleasure having you. I want to say thank you so much. I know you have an incredibly busy schedule between now and so thank you so much. It's always, and the work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharmila. Keep up the good work as well.
I'll try my best. So, guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much. So, this week's segment of Redefining Normal, as I always say, be good, do good. Until next week, bye, everyone.
Or remember, if you rock your socks, you can send us all your pictures via TT today at ttt.co.tt, and we'd love to feature that. Well, just a little update for you before we end the show. An autopsy has found that 11-year-old Ariana Ramdale died from complications of a severe infection that led to acute left ventricular heart failure, confirmed by a senior police official as a natural death. While a man was arrested after allegedly assaulting 3 licensing officers on the Southern Main Road in Curepe on Monday morning and is now facing charges. That's something we'll continue to talk about on the show maybe tomorrow. Well, thanks to everyone who joined us today on Trinidad and Tobago Today. Here's where we take a break. We head to the news, and we'll be back tomorrow from 6 to 8 a.m. where we do this all over again.
Every client deserves expertise, integrity, and guidance they can trust. At Camino Realty International, we deliver integrated real estate solutions, sales, rentals, property management, and project development. Driven by excellence, transparency, and innovation, we protect value, create opportunity, and build lasting success. Because real estate isn't just about buildings. For more information on our services, log on to CaminoRealty.com or follow us on social media at Camino Realty TT. Camino Realty International, elevating lives one property at a time.
Ever wondered what happens before the lights come on? Before the crowd pours in? Before the magic hits the stage? This is your all-access pass. Sneak Peek with Junior K takes you behind the scenes of the biggest cultural moments and the hottest events across TNT. From the sound checks to the stage setups, from final rehearsals to exclusive interviews. If it's about to be big, we're already there. Catch Sneak Peek airing daily on TTT and relive every moment on all our social media platforms. Sneak Peek with Junior K, where the story starts before the spotlight.
Good morning, this is your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts, making the news at this time. A primary suspect has been arrested with 4 victims of human trafficking being rescued in Rio Claro. This according to the Ministry of Homeland Security, which noted it comes after its counter-trafficking unit obtained its first preventative detention order under the emergency power regulations. In a mid-release on early Tuesday morning, it said the operation, dubbed Operation Purple Rain, took place on Saturday, March 7th. Acting on intelligence received through Interpol, officer of the counter-trafficking unit conducted several weeks of surveillance at a premises located on Fraser Street in Rio Claro, which culminated in a search warrant. During the exercise, a 42-year-old TNT national and businessman was arrested, while a total of 11 individuals were discovered at the location. After initial screening and investigation by CTU officers, they confirmed that 4 individuals were victims of human trafficking, all female Venezuelan nationals ranging from 15 to 30 years of age. The ministry said that initial information suggests that some of the victims had been confined and exploited at the location for more than 2 years. We'll have more on this in a subsequent newscast. Trinidad and Tobago cannot shoot its way out of the situation where crime and criminality is concerned. This according to Director of the Policy and Community Support Office in the Ministry of Homeland Security, noting that Trinidad and Tobago cannot rely on policing alone to stem rising crime. He said years of enforcement-heavy responses have failed to address the root causes of violence, particularly among vulnerable youth.
Recognize that you cannot shoot your way out of the situation where crime and criminality is concerned. It's a very demanding, challenging situation. But when we looked at it, we recognized there was an urgent need for at least one of the ministries who has the ultimate responsibility for crime and criminality to take that step to have engagements with very key stakeholders.
He was speaking following a recent national multi-sector symposium that brought together psychologists, educators, health officials, social workers, and police to rethink crime prevention strategies. A central theme of the discussions, he said, was the state's duty to treat violence as a symptom of deeper psychological and social harm.
There was a clear expression of the importance of the right to health.
Mm-hmm.
And the right to health, looking at the state's responsibility to fulfill that right to health. So when we spoke about the biopsychosocial context, looking at crime and criminality from that context, immediately you are looking at the human being. And, you know, can I link it? Yeah. The ocelot that we saw a while ago, you saw the efforts that doctors and experts were applying to ensure that an animal recovered.
Yeah.
And I need to make this comparison. Our human beings, our vulnerable youths, they are injured in different ways.
In other news, as Lent heightens demand for fish as a preferred meat alternative, rough seas and strong winds are leaving stores in Carenage sparsely stocked and prices climbing. A hazardous seas alert has also forced many fishing vessels to remain anchored, limiting daily catches and straining supply just as demand peaks. Fisherfolk say this period of the year typically brings challenges, but this season has proven especially difficult. The reduced catch has translated directly to higher prices, with some fish varieties now selling for as much as $50 per pound, well above average. Fishermen attribute the spike not only to scarcity, but also dangerous waters, which further limit how often they can head out to sea.
Well, this season now is the season which by the weather and the breeze does downsize the fish, make the fish less, because they don't come up with the weather. So for now, if you look around and you go and party in all the fish stores, you will see a little bit of fish. And until that season come and pass, it'll start back like probably after the Easter.
In sport, after losing a crucial match last week, the University of the West Indies A team must defeat the University of the Southern Caribbean in their Round 4 match in Legacy Basketball Invitationals this evening, in hopes of advancing to the playoffs. The two sides will meet at UWI's Sport and Physical Education in St. Augustine from 7 p.m. In the evening's second game, we'll see New Chapter Academy Warriors taking on the undefeated Southside Elite. Having clinched their spot in the playoffs last week, Southside will be hoping to finish the group phase flawless. Southside versus New Chapter is carded for a tip-off time of 8:45. And that was your TTT News Update. I'm Carrie Roberts. From the entire team here, have a great day.
This is TTT. Live for local. Carrie's Kitchen, powered by Food Hall. Grocery made greater. Ibis, a tradition of excellence. Caribbean flavors. In the heart of every kitchen. Lotus, the confidence to create. Correga Garden Supplies. Good and natural. Indie, spice up your life. Distributed by Edward B.B. Harry. Champion, always a winner. Distributed by Edward B.B. Harry. Lion, the power behind our great taste traditions. Excellent Stores Limited. Live, create, do.
This one is for the pork lovers out there. So first I'm going to keep it classic with one dish and chef it up